You're looking at the American flag. It's the symbol of liberty and freedom throughout the world. No one has ever been able to take our freedoms from us. The danger is that from time to time, we've managed to give it away. On August the 30th, 1893, Huey P Long Jr. was born on this lot in Winfield, Louisiana. Huey liked to say that he was born in a log cabin. He wasn't. He was born in this house into an upper middle class family. He was the seventh of 9 children born to Huey Pierce Sr. and Caldonia Tyson. Huey was considered to be a bright, inquisitive child. He grew up listening to his dad's friends talking about how the rich man and big business had mistreated the poor working class people. These political discussions made a lasting impression on young Huey. In the 11th grade, he got into trouble by circulating a petition against school policy. He was expelled. He spent the next few years as a traveling salesman, honing his political skills to be used later on. In 1913, while still working as a salesman, Huey met and married Rose McConnell as stenographer. Rose continued to work so that Huey could attend law school at Tulane. But after only 1 year, he convinced the board to allow him to take the bar exam. He passed. He set up his first law office on the 2nd floor of this bank building in Winfield. Now, to learn about Huey Long, we had to go and start at his hometown of Winfield, Louisiana. Now, this is a statue placed on the courthouse grounds for Huey. The Long family was a political power in Louisiana politics for years, and it all started here with Huey Long. We're now driving a few blocks to the Louisiana Political Museum housed in the old railroad depot down here on the left. Now, this is the way that Huey Long's law office looked back in 1924 when he made his first attempt to become governor. By this time, Huey and Rose had had 3 children. Daughter Rose, born 1917. Sons Russell, born 1918, and Palmer, born 1921. Although Huey Long lost the race for governor in 1924, he did make a good showing. During the next 4 years, he developed a name of fighting for the little man against powerful interests, especially major oil companies such as Standard Oil. And he made sure that all of his triumphs were placed in the newspapers for everyone to see. We are now on Highway 190 on our way to the Louisiana state capital. Huey promised in his 1928 campaign for governor that he would make rich oil companies share the wealth with the less fortunate in his state. His Share the Wealth campaign became popular with poor rural farm families. And in 1928, Huey Long Jr. was elected the youngest governor in Louisiana history at 35. His attempt to tax major oil companies made him powerful enemies. In less than a year, in 1929, Standard Oil recruited powerful politicians to try and impeach the governor. He was charged with bribery and corruption. The only thing that halted the impeachment proceedings was a petition signed by 15 legislators stating that they wouldn't vote against Huey Long even if he was guilty. These legislatures, of course, were all handsomely rewarded later by the governor. After the impeachment failed, Governor Long began to coordinate his power. He had a tax placed on every barrel of refined oil. He taxed large industry and wealthy individuals, calling it an occupational tax. At one point, every state employee paid into the fund for Huey Long. With this tax money, Governor Long paved over 3,000 miles of roads while he was governor. When he came into office, less than 300 miles were paved in Louisiana. Workers were coming from every state in the Union during the Depression to work in his state. Long managed to give free school books to all schools. Because of the separation of church and state laws, he gave the individuals directly to the students of Catholic schools, helping him with the Catholic vote, of course. He improved charity hospitals for the poor. He abolished the poll tax, opening the way for over 70,000 blacks and poor whites to vote. He improved prison conditions by giving inmates free medical and dental care. He built badly needed roads across the state, including 2 across the Mississippi River. He made great improvements to the state mental hospital, the same hospital his brother Earl will use later on as a patient. He slashed utility rates and property taxes. He also funded a natural gas line to New Orleans. During the Depression, Louisiana closed only 7 banks while other states lost thousands. He also built a new governor's mansion and the tallest Capitol building in the United States. The poor farmers and workers in Louisiana thought Huey Long a savior and friend, and was willing to support him in anything he asked, especially votes. Governor Long had the legislature to pass a bill giving the governor power to approve or disapprove every state job. Everything from a policeman, fireman, school teachers down to the school janitor. If you or someone in your family did not support Long, you were fired. If a politician in one parish did not support the governor, he would be dealt with harshly. Funds to his parish would be cut off. If you were going to vote against a bill that the governor supported, it was not unusual for the state police to pull you over and hold you in jail until after the vote. Governor Long rewarded his friends and severely punished his political enemies. In order to counter the acts of newspapers that were against Long, he started his own, the American Progress, supported by supporters of his and state workers. State police would even deliver the newspapers to all the parishes. In Louisiana, the governor could only serve 1 4-year term at a time, and in order to hold power over Louisiana, Huey decided that he would become senator, although he had 2 more years to serve as governor. He was elected senator in 1930, but didn't take his senatorial seat until 1932, until he could get his hand-picked man in as governor to replace him, Oscar K. Allen. Although Long was now senator and no longer governor, he maintained political power as though he was governor. He would stay at the governor's mansion when he was in town. He used the governor's office as his own. He would use the governor's private elevator to the 24th floor of the Capitol building, where he maintained an apartment. In 1934, Huey started speaking to the nation on national radio. He introduced the nation to his Share Our Wealth program. His plans to run for president against Franklin Delano Roosevelt was in motion. He told the people suffering from the Depression that he would cap individual wealth at 50 million, and no one could make over $1 million per year. He would use these funds to finance free health care, free higher education and vocational training. Every family would receive $5,000 yearly payment to everyone making less than 1/3 of the national average. He would give veterans special benefits. And to top it off, he would shorten the work week, and everyone would receive a 4 weeks vacation per year. Huey Long's support was growing throughout the nation, and he was becoming a genuine threat to President Roosevelt's presidency. President Roosevelt said that Senator Huey Long was the most dangerous man in America, and the president secretly had the government to investigate Long and his friends. He knew that Long intended to run for president against him in 1936 elections. 1 month after Huey announced for president, on September the 8th, 1935, Huey Long was at the state capitol in Baton Rouge. It was on a Sunday night around 9 p.m. A special legislative session was called. Long was attempting to oust an old political enemy, Judge Benjamin Henry Pavey. House Bill number 1 would gerrymander and redistrict Judge Pavey's 16th Judicial District, causing the judge to lose his seat on the bench. Pavey for years had fought Long, still secure in his position despite Long's resistance. The Long political machine started a smear campaign against the judge's family by spreading rumors that the judge's wife was of mixed blood. That evening, Dr. Carl Austin Weiss, a well-respected doctor in Baton Rouge, kissed his wife, Yvonne, and 3-month-old child, Carl Weiss Jr. He told his family he was going to visit a patient, which, according to the patient, he did, and even made phone calls supposedly to schedule his surgery for the next day. Somehow, around 9:20 p.m., he shows up at the Capitol building. The legislature had already passed House Bill number 1 and was just adjourning. The official version of what happened next was this. Senator Long had just left the House floor and was coming down the hall towards us. He was going to the governor's office, the doors on the left, when Dr. Weiss steps out from behind one of these marble columns and shoots the senator in the lower right side with this gun, a Belgium automatic .32 caliber pistol. After a brief scuffle, the bodyguards and Dr. Weiss separates enough for the guards to pull their guns and shoot the doctor some 30-something times. Now, there is one bullet hole left on this marble column. It was just above where Dr. Weiss's body fell. Carl Weiss was 29 years old. Senator Long, wounded, staggers down the hall and is located in the stairwell. It is true that the bodyguards were on high alert that night, claiming that they had information that an assassination attempt would be made. Information at the time was hard to come by because the bodyguards were not very forthcoming with information. Only decades later did information begin to filter out. Witnesses now state that Dr. Weiss was not hiding behind marble columns at all, but spoke to and shook hands with several people at the Capitol that night. They also said that Weiss tried to speak twice to Senator Long and was brushed aside by him and his police guards. Of course, this could have infuriated the doctor and caused him to shoot the senator. Some say that Long insulted Dr. Weiss, and Weiss struck Senator Long with his fist, and that it was the guards that accidentally shot Senator Long. Senator Long has been quoted as asking, "Why did that SOB shoot me?" However, one nurse at the hospital, Lady of the Lake, that the senator was rushed to, said that she heard the senator say, "Why did that SOB hit me?" 3 weeks before the assassination of Senator Long, Long stated that his investigators had uncovered a plot originating in New Orleans by high political officials, including ex-governors, to assassinate. This was not unusual. There were consistent open talk of somebody needs to kill Huey Long. And when the senator reached the hospital, he was still very much in charge, demanded that they send to New Orleans for his own doctors, fearing a plot. The surgeons were late reaching Baton Rouge. They took the river road instead of the new airlines highways that Senator Long had initiated, because of barricades. However, Huey's two sons, Russell and Palmer, coming from New Orleans, simply removed the barricades and continued on to Baton Rouge. It looks like Senator Long, being very much conscious, would be sure of who shot him, you might think. On September the 10th, 1935, at 4:10 a.m., some 30 hours after the shooting, Huey Pierce Long Jr. died of complications from a gunshot wound. He was 42 years old. The Kingfish, as the Senator Long loved to be called, his body lay in state at the Capitol in the building that he had built. He was then buried on the Capitol grounds. Long stands facing the Capitol. The inscription on Senator Long's monument reads, Huey Pierce Long, 1893 to 1935. Here lies Louisiana's great son, Huey Pierce Long, an unconquered friend of the poor, who dreamed of the day when the wealth of the land would be spread among all the people. I know the hearts of the people, because I have not colored my own. I know when I am right. In my own conscience, I have one language. Its simplicity gains pardon for my lack of letters. Fear not, change it. Persecution will not change it. It cannot be changed while people suffer. The Long legacy did not die with Huey Long. Huey's wife Rose replaced him in the Senate, and she remained senator until 1937. Rose died in 1970 in Boulder, Colorado after a long illness while living with her daughter. 1 year after Huey's death, his younger brother Earl was elected lieutenant governor and then governor on 3 non-consecutive terms. He was affectionately called Uncle Earl. During Earl's last term as governor of Louisiana in 1956 to 1960, he was committed to the state mental hospital for treatment of alcohol abuse. This was while he was still governor, and when he got out, he fired the mental health administrator. He was caught up in a public scandal with a New Orleans prostitute called Blaze Starr, while relapsing back into alcohol abuse. Now, the sound truck here was used by Earl on his campaigns. It was also used in the movie Blaze about the governor's last term. Governor Earl Long died September the 5th, 1960. He's buried in Winfield on the same lot that he was born on. Now this is his grave. Governor Long was 65 years old. In 1948, some 13 years after Huey's death, his son Russell B. Long was elected U.S. Senator. He remained Louisiana Senator for almost 4 decades until 1987. Senator Long died on May the 9th, 2003, at the age of 84. In 1952, Huey and Earl's younger brother George was elected to the U.S. Congress. A very wise man once wrote, "The ideals of the left are godlier than the right. It is just they use cruel methods in obtaining it."